No, not more. Yes. Well, I guess I'm streaming. I hope I can do something myself. I don't think that's a bad thing. To try to have a standard of some sort to talking about this incredible information regarding the whole TNO story too, in all respects related to human consciousness and awarenesses, as best I can tell from everything I've studied since leaving the classroom. And before that, when I first started to write my book, I had all the different ideas in it, indexed and everything. So the next volume is going to have to be that. It'll have all the different ways of thinking built into it and rated by my rating system. My rating system, right? Of who tends to look more real and most real, because it's all in degrees, right? We're all, I think, going along with living life, and hopefully in all the positive ways that we can. What's he honking at me? The Waymo car was honking at me to go. The Waymo car was honking at me to go. He was stopped at the light and I had green. And I didn't go right away because I was thinking about what I was talking about. So he stopped and then he honked. And now he's going to pass me. Hey, Waymo. I should take a picture of him, right? There you go. That's Waymo. He takes off fast. He's not slow. Oh no, I'm supposed to turn here. All right, I can fix that. Over here at Supermercado, Poco Loco. Yeah, I'm supposed to go that way. 71 east. That's right. I didn't lose my way. Okay, folks, I want to put this back on. I mean, I should bring my stand because I know, it's more fun to, right? Shoot, now, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I can stand it up over here. think I'm on track. Talk above the road noise. Now I need to talk loud, right? Thing is, you might not be able to hear me that well over there. So I think that defeats the purpose of the stream, because I think I do have some things to say. Some things that are on my mind that I want to talk about. Because there's so much going on, and I feel like I'm a combatant of misinformation, among the others. And there's actually 3 conspiracies. Wow. So now, I'm going, oh, this is a food pickup, right? Okay, so I know my screen's terrible, but, oh, you know what's wrong with it? Reversing it. So actually, I was not showing you anything in that whole video. Jeez, I gotta do better with that. Anyway, so the whole idea that I wanted to talk about, or one of them, was what is meekness? Meek doesn't mean lowly of heart or non-combative. It means that the person has a calm temper of mind, not easily provoked. I mean, that's the way it was used, like in the as meek. In English. And 5 times it's used as poor. The poor shall inherit the earth. Well, you know, one way to look at that is that the poor end up having to grow their food when it all goes away after it's been annihilated. You know, in meters. And so we all become enslaved to that. And I shouldn't use that word enslaved, because you know, some people might think that I'm equating it with slavery in the United States. of blacks. Those of African American gene pool. Or Latin American gene pool, or Asian, or all gene pools, right? I may be wrong, but I think that a lot of whites are born full of themselves. Because there is that's why when you see that happening, you know it's the same ancestry. And where you don't see it happening, I think that's what that means. Late recycling. Cycles are happening. The cycles that humans don't know anything about. None of us. Except for what has been, and the other objects we've identified over time. It makes perfect sense to me that they're giving us the evidence of their majesty all the time. I mean, majesty is in kings. Maybe I should be reversing it, because that's what happened by the return of the older members. The oldest member took a female vehicle on purpose. And so the rights movements, in terms of the gender, that's when they stood up. They received some of the energy of that mind that was paying attention to the human kingdom. That's a physical attention. Frequencies on physicality. Running like a plasma stream. Actually. According to Doe. I didn't have, this isn't from me. I'm just like compiling it best I can. For however long it happens, those words will be cherished by those that reach. Aren't afraid to reach. For the highest source. We all do that in our own ways. We can be. I mean, I'm not saying we all are, because I can't speak for everybody. I can only partially speak for myself. It's like to me, this is like going to church. Talking about the next level, where I get to be on my best behavior. I'm not mocking it by crying, by laughing. It's just like ironic that I don't practice what I preach. Not to the degree that I had for a long time. Thought I was. But I realized I wasn't. It can be a very minor thing. You'd only be fooling yourself to be dishonest about giving your all. and accepting all the teachings, and giving us your will. They told us that in 1977 in a field. Doe said that he was shocked when T said that you have to give us your will. Can you imagine the bombardment you would get from the human kingdom by saying that? Because the next level created the human kingdom to have its free will. So if you're requiring it of somebody, that means it's a choice that you want to give it. And the reason that is because that's the frequency. That's the radio frequency to ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. You know, it's like if you take away, let's say you say that Jesus didn't exist the way that the religious talk about it. Okay, you know, that can mean a lot of different things. It can mean like it didn't exist, he wasn't really the Son of God. And you know, okay, so that, oh jeez, big plastic bag in the road. And then let that be said, you know, think, okay, well that means that it's evil, that somebody wants. Big difference between giving it and taking it. Now you could say, well, yeah, that's right. You got coerced into giving your will, right? Whatever it is in life that you end up trusting. Because that's what that entails, right? Giving your trust to, you know, that they were 100% trustworthy. I was there, you know, when we were talking about the way that they ended up exiting and deciding whether that was something we each wanted. And I did have a kind of programmed response at the time. But I was real at the same time in my mind. I was thinking like, let's be done with it. Because I was miserable at that time. Because I had given in to sensuality with myself. A number of times. Because it wasn't like, so I know about that from experience that that had been festering for a long time, and I didn't know it. But I did, I guess. I don't know. I didn't know it. I knew I was doing something wrong. Let me put it that way. Against procedure. That's what I'm talking about. Not morally wrong. No, just against procedure. Procedures aren't moral. That exactly the way that it was given to you. And so at first that looks like, okay, that's no big deal. I can do that. I can play that game for a while. Day in and day out, through times that are interesting and through times that are not so interesting, or filled with philosophy and meetings with the teachers, which of course there really wasn't any much philosophy going on because the teacher on average. But then it was like it never really got much more than that with Tian-Do. Tian-Do. Anyway, but the meek. So the meek is a temperament that's used as a some of the keywords are poor, humble, lowly. See, that's not, Jesus didn't use it in that way. Well, that's the Hebrew usage. Well, see, it would be lowly to the upper class. Like when Moses said that he was going to come from within you. Referring to the tribe of Judah, I guess, is what I think that meant. Maybe I didn't study that enough to know that for sure. So they come, so even if it says that he comes within you, from within you, he doesn't come with observation. It's because you can't tell that the person has the stuff, the mind, just by looking at them or hearing from them, unless you sense things in it that are attractive, that are interesting. And so Tian-Do laid a big, let's see, do I want to stop at gas? Not really, not at this price. Oh boy. So humble is knowing that the next level exists. A degree of it. A degree of it. It's all in degrees. And you can say, well, you could know anything, right? Anybody could know anything. Well, yeah, of course. If they put all their mind into it, they'll get to know something about that. It might not be meaningful, but it could be meaningful. Jeez. I guess, getting back to the meekness, it says needy. Oops. he put his brakes on right there. If you're spinning around, so he put his brakes on to, I don't know, I don't know what goes on sometimes, in this world. Like Jesus also said that blessed are those that are poor of spirit. And so that means, that would mean, like, to me that would mean maybe they haven't become something that the world would define as having reached the pinnacle of success. Poor spirit, because when you have more spirit, you actually can talk about it, I think, in a realistic way, as you have more discordance, or stronger discordance that you've been exposed to in your life, and they can spur you on to do things that the human kingdom would be very much enjoying, benefiting from, profiting from. A lot of times that's what the driving force ends up being when somebody wants to support somebody else, to profit from whatever skill or talent or they have. And so, because the more, but see, the next level requires us to have exposure to all different levels of life throughout the time that we're being cultivated by the next level to give them new faces. That they have a celebration for. And they're smiling on everybody now that has reached up to them. I'm sure of it. Can't go wrong with Tiando's mind. Unless you let the lower forces in to cancel it out. Which that, canceling it out in order to be more objective. Because it is the, like he said in the first book that she was writing with Doe, I can't believe that she was writing the book. In fact, that's pretty good evidence that this was T's book that she was writing, and And she talks about dough in it, so it's obvious true. I think that T expressed things after talking with Doe about it. Well, maybe not. Maybe not, actually. It could be any of the above. It doesn't make any difference. Because T would just do what T does, and it would be inappropriate for us to second guess what T's choices would be in certain ways. I guess that's overgeneralization for somebody that's new to this broadcast. Just be talking about Tia as if she's some god. And yeah, that's what, you'll have to stay with it and see what the examples of that are. And I'm sorry I'm not able to just wing them off the top of my head, all the examples, because they just have to come to mind. Well, I mean, because he didn't tell Doe that she was his older member, but he knew that she was. And what that meant to him was that she had a degree of intelligence that he didn't have. It's not really intelligence, but mind control of hers, that when they were making choices, when they were first awakening and they were traveling in 1973, back and forth across the country. We keep on getting an email, I think. Oh, I got it. I don't know what's going on. Somebody's trying to get a hold of me or something. Let me see if I can continue with what I was talking about. So yeah, poor spirit means you don't have an entourage of discarnates propping your vehicle up. That becomes us. That's who we've become. All the influences we've attracted to ourselves. And we get that genetically, and we get that in the genetic spirit, the overall mind of the planet, the lower level of it, the subconscious level of it. As opposed to the inner mind, that is the conscious. Sometimes I think we are, because the next level gives us repeated lesson steps. I'm saying us as a human, not just me. All humans are in the school. according to Tiendo. Now, I don't know if that's in any of the tapes, because we didn't start making tapes until about 1982, the way I remember it. There might have been some tapes before that. I know Pip Odie felt like there were. But they talked about a lot of things from 1975 to 1982. And one of them was that the Earth was, the human kingdom was a school. There was like 12 grades. And in the first 6 grades, you're getting into being a human. And so you might be famous, you might be wealthy, you might be successful. I guess all those things would kind of mean success. You might even, as examples, you might even have your burial plots in place and for the whole family, and you're providing for many people. You're serving many people. It might be political office. I'm not putting down all that. I'm just. It's not the highest grade in school. It's actually the epitome of humanness, so that if it continues, it remains human, or even goes backwards. I don't know how much it goes backwards. The mind being sent backwards in evolution. That's what I'm talking about. Maybe there's some kind of function like that, where it goes to support the trees or something, or the earth, the minerals. Who knows? Who knows? We don't know. I mean, Tiendo gave us lots of ideas that if the human kingdom had them before that, it's because those people were seeking in directions that were similar to what they were talking about. They were tuning into those radio frequencies because their presence was putting out those radio frequencies stronger than they are when they're on a spacecraft, because they don't have to cut through the atmosphere. And I don't know what all the inhibitors are of that mind, but there's physics in all this. And so but I think, isn't it radio waves that are being transmitted from these different spacecrafts that NASA and the European Space Agency and India and China and Soviet Union, Russia and who knows how many others have been sending up into space? I don't know. But, whether I have to look into that. I don't remember if it was radio waves or some other wave spectrum. Light, I guess. I don't know. But who knows what's possible? The shape of the waves has to do with, if I understand correctly, speaking about waves, the extra long frequencies, they are so broad in the way that they have a wave, they produce a waveform in the way they move. Pretty phenomenal, actually, right? you know, it measured that way. Let's put it that way. By the hertz, 100 ticks per character, or per 100 cents. Sometimes you talk about it that way. Of hertz to equal 1 hertz. So that's why it's where 40 hertz is like considered to be the kind of a consciousness of the average, the average human, I guess, is in that range. That might be below. But who knows, right? For sure. Until time passes. I think there's stories of some people waking up long after they were thought to be deceased. Oh boy, getting silly, I guess. But it's so the meek shall inherit the earth might mean that the people that are that have true humility, I guess. I mean, do have it sometimes, I guess. I don't know how, I'm not measuring it. I don't know how to, if I'm being honest about things, I'm not trying to, portray something about myself that's different from what it is. Or conspiring to get something through manipulative ways, or tricky ways, or I'm not saying those things are bad, but I'm saying that they're, to me, distasteful ways to be, and I think that's because it is. Okay, I'm sorry. I went into thinking about something else. But, well, let me get to some of the only reason I'm referring to myself sometimes is because I want to think about, how I relate to those words. I want to express, that because I don't have it all together in this regard. It's one thing to understand this, but it's another thing to, apply it at the time when you're emotionally going through stuff. You know what I mean? So you're not going to be humble sometimes. You're not going to be, you're going to want to have experiences in the world. You're going to be driven to do things that you stand up for and you believe in and you feel good about. And, and you want to be around people that are doing the same thing. And, I think, everybody needs to explore the things that they feel drawn to and take it a step at a time, see how it feels. See what the people are like that you're associating with. And a lot of that happens naturally to where you are making your own way there, and that can be a next level stimulus. Because they know the ones that are, that they made a deposit into. More mind is what I'm saying. The individual has. Where that mind came from. There's no negativity in the creator's chest, a laboratory. There is no laboratory for negativity. You can say, well, wait a minute, how could that be? There's no laboratory for negativity. Does that mean there is a laboratory for negativity? And I think the answer to that is, in all honesty, my opinion, and from T and No's mind, initially more of what was real about the whole idea of there being beings and spacecrafts that came from somewhere else, outside of the human kingdom, or from inside the planet, or from the dark side of Moon, or Mars, or Venus. I mean, most of the stories entailed people from Venus, or because we're not able to drill into these planets yet very much. They're not telling us about that, if they've got that kind of going. I know they probably do that to some degree, but how much they can go through. Right, because the pipe gets fatigued, right? That's being drilled into the earth. So the bit can be like diamond, but the whole stem can't be. So it breaks off, and then they have broken bits and stuff. I know that from I know about the oil drilling business. I don't know if that defeats the if that change makes it so that they can't keep it drilling. I don't know. I was just thinking about that random thought. See, to make it weak and poor and weak, they use that as in there. And why is that when, okay, you can pass me. When weak isn't even in the primary list of how each of the English words is used, between meek and humble and poor and lowly, and then VR meek. I'm not sure what that means. But 26 times they say that that Hebrew word is used. And then they put weak in there. See, like, so that makes people think that that was like calling people weak, right? The meek. Oh, they don't exert themselves. They don't, put themselves out there. They don't go after it. They don't hold somebody accountable for their evil behavior. Because everybody's doing it in this way or that way. They probably even force them to do it so that they have that on them. There's probably some club for that. I mean, look into the Club of Rome. That's what we've got here. We've got the ancestor. I mean, we've got the descendants. They don't get to be that corrupt for no reason. I'm not saying forgive them. They get their own punishment. I mean, but that might include being dragged out into the street. I don't know. It wouldn't be the first time the people did that. So I mean, that becomes a karma. Yeah. So let me go through some other things I have on my list here that I believe one way of thinking about things to me is that there are like three different forces at play on the earth at this time, and have been for any kind of time frame of even many civilizations on earth or other planets. Both, all that. There's three kind of degrees of mind, or caliber of mind, or benevolence of mind. Because the creators of the planet and the life forms on it, they've got no malefic mind. They're never trying to dominate anybody. No being in the garden is being, that their spirit isn't being dominated by somebody else. They're allowed to become exactly what they want to become. Except for what the environment does to have them adapt to or die from, and then even by dying, they learned about that avenue is not a way to stay alive. So making maybe different choices. Organisms, of course, I'm talking about, like the way that animals learn to not cross certain roads. And so they'll generally just stay by the side of the road. And they can learn, probably, how far away something is by their ears. They can probably gain a sense of how long they have before they can move in that direction. My point is that all the species are learning through life. That's why we need these vehicles. That's why our position is against suicide. The S word. Meanwhile, the human kingdom is encouraging people to commit suicide. I mean, it's even part of the health plan in Canada. I don't know if it was voted in to that degree, but what they do is they put it on the ballot, and then they proceed with it anyway. And they don't tell anybody about it, whether it passes or not, if it's something they want to do. Okay, so the three forces have their own cover-ups. The next level feeds the planet their information in a gradual way that doesn't affect people that don't reach up to tune into it. So when somebody has a thirst for knowledge, a thirst for understanding things, scientific, whatever it is, social, whatever other, having to do with the mineral kingdom and the plant kingdom and, the studies of all the things, and the archaeology and the anthropology, and I'm not, it's all, the quest for knowledge, that's a characteristic of a member of the next level. They always are looking for greater understanding about things. And that leads people to also desire to understand where we came from, why we can exist. That can even include an evolution of the species where the next level put all the missing pieces in, so that when they started studying their origin, they would have no question on whether it went in this direction, like in the animal kingdom, or like come up through the bird strain, or come up through the mammal strain, like the ox strain, or the lion strain, or the human strain. I don't know why I just did that. Stop there. And those are the four were described. The four living beings in Revelation were described as linked to those animal strains, creature strains of, and so the lower forces had them twist that and use the word therion. Use the word beast in reference to them, the four beasts. Because they were described relative to Daniel's prophecies as those four living beings that were using human vehicles. And that's why it's honest to portray them. It gives them humans the option to portray it with enough description to where you're not eliminating the ultimate meaning of the term. So if you're going to say that somebody is a being, then we think of that word as human being, right? Then to me that's the same thing as the way that the Lord told Moses that his name was I exist. I am that I am. Because the idea of existing is perpetual and singular at the same time. It has motion with it, continuousness with it. It's everlasting. It doesn't end with the human cycle. Because it's the mind that's being developed. So how we do things, how we go after things, that's what defines the person. And when they go after it in a certain way, and they get back something from it that feels negative to them, and they don't choose to continue to do it, then I think they are staying more true to their course that they're choosing. And they can use that I've been watching Kathy go through that. And it's a beautiful thing to see. To way she goes about thinking about things and developing them with her channel. It's great. It's growing. But and there's 3 cover-ups. Now, so the human cover-up is what we've seen covering up the existence of beings that humans became aware of, mostly in a big way in the 1940s and 1950s and maybe 60s and maybe, more than that. I don't know, because that, a battle, I know it sounds silly, right? A battle? Between what? Space aliens and humans? What are you talking about? You gotta be kidding. That's a sci-fi movie. I saw that movie. I saw 100 like it. You guys are whacked. And yet, the reason why all those movies came about was because of the Next Level's presence. They just so happened to start in earnest in Europe and the United States, I think in the mid-1800s, or early 1800s. But probably the 1700s as well, yeah. I think the 1700s. The 7, 8, 9. The 7 to 8, the 9 to 10, my brain. But anyway. So the space aliens have a cover-up. Also, they don't want humans to in various tapes, because they were talking about this, for years before we had tape recorders in our library. I don't know when we first had that library. I think when we moved into houses from Living Outdoors, the book came from. That became our library. And then T&O would add to it. the Inner Earth books and the Roswell book is, yeah, I said that already. But then the Book of Aztec. So the space aliens, they want to take credit for they had a lot to do with even the primary part of doing with what was depicted in Genesis 6 and the Book of Enoch. These were individuals that qualified in a previous civilization to be in the company of the next level, all the members. Enough. It doesn't mean they were with them physically all the time. I don't know if they even meet them all. They might meet their older member, whoever was the key member of the human kingdom that took over a human vehicle that was prepared for them and brought upgrades to the thinking, trying to move in the direction to where they would be seen as real physical beings that have different shapes and sizes and to the vehicles. Yeah, you can pass me. And I'm turning at this next turn. And I'm actually making my turn. Hallelujah. And so the alien cover-up is pretend anything but. Even believe that they are what they said they were, but believe that there's nothing for anybody to do in that regard. That's how twisted the lower forces can do to somebody's head, or have somebody use that because they think it's to their advantage to use that, so they're not so on the hook for the very difficult belief system to embrace and not receive a lot of negativity from it in order to relate with the world to survive. We start to adopt ideas that will take the weight off of us. And that can even be an okay thing to do. I'm sure I can't be the judge of it, to have that cross our minds. But it's deciding whether to work for them or against them when you prosecute somebody for doing it. When you try to ruin their lives. For giving away TNO's information and not wanting it to be limited. To some gumball machine type of delivery of the tapes, so that you can only get the next one. Does that work? I know that's what Mark joked about doing, that he wanted to release the tapes, but he just wanted to do it like one at a time. So it would be 10 years before they would get to tape number, the end of them. Oh boy, he didn't. I don't know why he's clinging to that now. Mark, if you're listening to this, why cling to that? I mean, because it's obvious that shouldn't be against the S word. And why? Let me see here. I gotta get the right numbers here from my codes. Oh, not yet. Okay. And the next level cover-up is that they can't show themselves to us until we're ready to receive it. They can't from them. And trusting that we can still have everything we want. And that we'll find ourselves wanting some things more than others. And we'll see that as being a positive. We'll be more and more inclined to make changes that have been difficult for us because we can come to know from experience when we listen to the clues they give us, everybody, potentially, that we don't necessarily pick up on because we don't want to, or not ready to, or we're distracted by too many other things, and that's all normal for a life, right? But then we can go through periods of going after the information and learning more about it. And I had the good opportunities for that, to have those experiences of like not going against them, but not being interested in learning more about them than I had already experienced. So I wasn't doing any. Well, then I was when I was trying to answer questions of people. Then I started to do lots of, reading of the Heaven's Gate material, Tiendo's material and crew, and learned a lot from reading it, even though I knew most of the ideas and everything. There were some that were new. And so I'm going to end the stream with that. I'm sorry I didn't get to maybe I can. Agent Loveless, keeping it pushing. Howdy from Bar Letter. Anthony Davis, beating it while driving. He beating it while driving. Yeah, I'm trying to. Popping behind the wheel. I haven't heard from you in quite a while, I think, FTPIV. How have you been? Well, I guess you'll have to tell me in a new one because I'm at the house. I've got to be quiet. And I've had enough. I've had a hard day. So I hope to see you again, and maybe I can find out how you've been. I generally, I don't ask people that, so I'm not trying to pry or trying to, be a better host or something. I don't know, it just occurred to me to say that. Oh boy. See, you can see what kind of influences I've got sometimes banging on my head. You know, that's gonna. But I do. I never really talk how much I do enjoy when individuals are coming into the channel and getting something from it. And that does feel good to me. And it feels good to talk about Tiandou. It does feel good. But it's interesting that it feels good, but sometimes I don't feel like I have enough energy built up to want to do it. And anyway, so I'm just rambling on. Have you prayed about it? Whether I've prayed about that particular difficulty, I guess. I mean, one of the things that I have a difficulty with is over analyzing something. And that is apparent to others. Not Kathy has taught me by being with Kathy. Of what it means to be sensitive to your environment. And I don't mean sensitive in like the way that people use, saying associated with that wiring to perceive certain things that are real, that are happening in the environment, whether it's thoughts of humans or whatever you want to call the thoughts of spiders, or the trees. That's where you can understand that interface with that perception isn't a bunch of baloney, because the frequency network is real, and I wish it hadn't. And I've experienced some of that. There's a very distinct vibration that's something that thankfully I have been given to experience and a number of times, and so I know how real it is. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that right now because I'm home. But there's a lot more I want to talk about with those three forces: the next level, alien, and human, and the three cover-ups, and the cloud cover. I didn't get to that, but the new meaning to come from the clouds. How the cover-up is like putting a cloud cover on things that the next level is even doing. But they're not doing it maliciously, or they're not doing it to keep people from understanding something. No, they're doing it according to the way that they know it requires the human kingdom to go through in order to be aware of the space aliens and their mind, and cease to recognize it as the grand illusion that humans were meant to not evolve beyond living in mammalian vehicles. When they were capable of having a metamorphosis. I mean, so if Jesus didn't exist, which I don't believe that's I think that's a bunch of malarkey, except for the Christian Jesus. That Jesus, I don't think exists. In a, it's not the same person. It's like they took the name, but that's about it. And now they've built their kingdom on that name. And they know they have thousands and thousands of followers. So they can make it into a mega little empire. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's a control mechanism that's attempting itself, and there's no place it can go but to actually combust. And so that's what the War of Armageddon is. Part of it. It's souls. It's a war for souls. It's between the space aliens and the next level. Those are the two choices. And when you go down the deceitful roads to where you justify, people sacrificing their lives for your agenda, or you believe that collateral damage is appropriate, or if you believe that certain individuals need to be taken out to keep something from happening, like what happened with all the people that developed ways of driving cars to run on water and Tesla's, energy that on this energy system that was this free energy. He said there wouldn't be any because it would be free. And so they went with Edison instead and Marconi to put their money behind. Yeah, I'm okay, baby. I'm coming in. I was just going to send you yes. So good night, folks.